Yom Tovim of Tishrei. Since that's the case, the first full cycle of 7 days of ordinary, as it were, life after the elevation of Tishrei is in this week that we've been through, Shabbos Noach, and since all the days of the week gain their bracha from Shabbos, it can tell you that the Shabbos Parshas gave a power and blessed into the going into all the ordinary days of the week. Harei shemishabbazu mizbochim amei hashavua harishon ye'elaveda ba'olam shehem kolim es yemei hashavua kol meshech hashana. So the Rebbe said that from this month, we're blessing, the coming week, which is all the days of the week, and the coming week won't even have Rosh Chodesh in it. It's already straight days of the week. Then from this particular Shabbos, Mizbochim Amei HaShavua Harishon Laveda Bo'ilom Sheim Koilim Es Yemei HaShavua Shekol Meshech HaShona. So if we're going to say that Shabbos Parshas, blessed the whole 7 days of the week, how they are already entering into and this Shabbos Noach is like the summing up, it's like reaching the first Shabbos after the 7 days, and it in turn is going to bless the whole 7 days of really entering the ordinary Seder. Then these Shabbos, these weeks, general weeks that affect the whole year, since they have their beginning in Shabbos Parshas, which is still tied to Tishrei. And how's that? So the Rebbe explains that every week, as it were, is like a general example of the whole weekday life of the whole year, because the whole year doesn't run into hundreds of days. But after every seventh day, which is Shabbos, we go back and we recount from Yom Rishon. So that every week is a cycle of 7 days, and the Alter Rebbe calls it in Tanya the Shivas Yemei Habinyan. That's the 7 days of the building of the world, and then every week that repeats itself. So Kuntai said, where I have a general 7 days that are getting a very special bracha from Tishrei, and that's affecting the whole of them, then they, in a way, are giving over that effect into all the days of the year, because all the days of the year are bedugma. They're like similar to the way they are. In other words, we don't just count, an endless run of days, but we go in these cycles of 7. So the first cycle of 7, which has the benefit of gaining such a bracha from the klolas, tikkun Shabbos, it's able to bless all the days of the year, and it has in itself a ability and a power to include all the 7 day cycle of the whole year. So he said, Harei shemishabbazu mizbochim amei hashavua harishon laveda ba'ilom shehem koilim es yemei hashavua shekol meshech hashon. That's like a general dogma and picture of the way it's going to be, the cycle of time in the days of our lives, the whole year. Mishum sheshivas yemei hashavua shekol hashona heim oisom shivas yomim achorizim v'nishnim kol shavua. Because these 7 days of the week are the same 7 days, and they just repeat themselves over every week of the year. He said we're dealing with a holistic situation. We have a Chodesh HaKloli, which includes all these Moedim Klolim of Chodesh, and Shabbos Parshas gives a power to go in with that koyach into the 7 days of it. And Shabbos Noach is the first Shabbos after this first cycle. So on the one hand, it's like it's summing up all the blessings from Shabbat Brazen, but it's also now also a Shabbat, so it's giving over into the ordinary cycle of the 7 days, and they're like a general picture of what's going to be in the whole year. And therefore, later in the Sikha, the Rebbe deals not only with Parsha Noach, but he also touches on Parsha Lech Lecha, because that's the Shabbat, that's the week that's going to be blessed from the Shabbos where we are right now. So the Rebbe says, Behetam Lazois, in according to all that, or appropriate to that whole picture, Hareish, Shabbos Parsha Noach. It follows then that Shabbos Parsha Noach, Shabbosiyo Mashavua Harisha, Laveda Boilam, albeit it's got the 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, but it's the first 7-day cycle of 7 so-called ordinary days. Mahava as a Shabbos or a Shoina, Misachemes as Tchilas Avodah Boilam. Therefore, when you read Shabbos Parsha Noach, that's the first time that you come to a Shabbos after 7 days of ordinary life. In Tishrei you didn't have that. But now that we've gone through Shabbos Brazen, we've moved into the ordinary days of ordinary life, we have the first 7 days, and this is the first time that we meet up with a Shabbos after the full 6 days of a full inverted commas, ordinary Seder. So that was that's the very special aspect of Shabbos Parsha Noach. So therefore, Shabbos Parsha Noach is also, he calls it in the Sikha, the Rebbe, a Shabbos Claudius. It's a very general Shabbos. Mahava is a Shabbos Rishona, and therefore Shabbos Parsha Noach is the Shabbos Rishona. Sakema says, it's like the first Shabbos that you meet and you sum up 6 full days of an ordinary week. He said, Shabbos Bereshis, Niklelas Aveda, Shokori Meisa Shavua, Koidem Lebitzua Lamaisa. Shabbos, the Pasuk Bereshis, inside Shabbos Bereshis, is included all the days of the week, but it's all in a way that it hasn't really started yet. It's all Bekoya. Koidem Lebitzua Lamaisa. And that's what we call in Siddur potential, Bekoya. He said, Ilu Shabbos Noach, Hua Misakemes as Tchilas Aveda Lamaisa Bepoyo. In other words, the Shabbos Bereshis gives koyach into the week of Noach, but it's only like it hasn't actually happened yet. It's going and expressing itself. Shabbos Parsha Noach is like a summing up. After you've been through the whole thing, So in that regard, Shabbos Bereshis is like a koyach point. Koyach means potentiality in the Lashon of Siddur type Lashon Kodesh, and therefore Shabbos Bereshis is a potentiality point. The Shabbos Parsha Noach is a summing up of the whole thing outside actually Bepoyo. So therefore we have an amazing difference between koyach and koyach. So he said, Behetam Lecha, and therefore Matim Shemash Shabbos Parsha Noach. He said, Behetam Lecha Matim Shmo Shel Parsha Noach. He said, therefore, according to all this, the name of the Shabbos Noach will be very fitting now. Why? He said, L'toitna shel Shabbosu. Because the word Noach means to rest. The word Noach is part of the word Menucha. And in the Lashon of Arami and the Gemara and the Zohar, it's called Naicha, Naicha Durua. And Naicha means Menucha, means to cease a state of intensive involvement in Malocha is called Noach or Naicha. L'toitna shel Shabbosu, shekein ka'oma ha'shavua ha'rishon la'aveda b'toich ha'ilom, which has actually happened, and we've been through it in the 6 days of Noach, they are a hachana, and they are a preparation. Kol b'teigas yemoiza shavuos kol hashana, like we said. Mikan, however, we meet up with Shabbos, and we enter a state of rest after the whole 6 days full expression. Mikan Shabbos Pasha Noach mudgash beika klorasin Shabbos. You can come to us that the word Noach indicates also the power of Shabbat that's hidden in Pasha Noach. In other words, that Pasha Noach is the first Shabbos that you actually face after 6 full days of your Moshe. After the 6 full days of the week, they say that this is the Shabbos that you sum it up and, as it were, rest and come to a state of aliyah that Shabbos indicates after the 6th day. And therefore he said the word Noach makes very good sense in that regard, apart from all its other implications. And therefore some of the great Sfarim point out that the whole Inyan of Noach and his whole personality in some ways symbolized the whole idea of Shabbos. He's like a sort of an embodying picture of the whole concept of Shabbos. So there was the Mikan Shabbos Pasha Noach Mudgash Beika Klolis in Shabbos. So therefore, Kuntai said there's a very central and special emphasis on the whole concept of Shabbos in Pasha Noach. The Onam Zeu taken Hashem Noach Manucha. The word Noach is like a root word, and it's like an essential, grammatical basis for the word Manucha. So he said, Shehi Marusa Ha'ikrias Shela Shabbos. What any Shabbos, and all Shabbos by Yidden, the main basic Mahus, how do you call it, the essence, and the principal essence of a Shabbos is the whole idea of Manucha. And therefore, even by Hashem, we find that the Pasuk in some way relates the concept of rest even to Hashem Yisborach, even to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what's written by Yishboish, by Yema Shabi, Ubetargum Shom, V'noch B'yom HaShvi. The Targum uses the same word Noch, which is the easiest Noach, for Hashem Yisborach, to get to Shabbat. So we see that the whole concept of coming into a Shabbat after you've been through the full malachas of the 6 days is very noticeable, even in the name of Pasha Noach, and all that it represents. Gam legabe HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'gam legabe Yidden and Knesset Yisrael. He said, "Es a kesher v'ahevdel bein teichen Shabbos Bereshis of Pasha Noach. What one is Inyan van Koyach and the other is Poel on a Moitzim Gam b'teichen HaParshiyah." And that was it, the Rebbe. If we look careful at the inner story of the Parshas, then we'll see that this whole difference between Bereshis and Noach is symbolized in what they tell us about it, what happened during those parts. So he said, Parshas Bereshis Mesupah Oides Brias Oilon. The whole Inyan of the beginning, at least, of the leading part of the beginning of Shabbos Bereshis is the story of the whole creation and Brias Oilon. He said of a Pasha Noach, Haftocha al Kiyum Oilon. And look at the difference. The first one is Bereshis tells us all about how Hashem brought about the world. Of Noach is concerned in a massive way with a haftocha, a promise, and an assurance from Hashem that the world is going to last. Well, that would tend to indicate that the world has been through some sort of a trial, and yet nonetheless, despite that trial, despite that, how you might call it, Eureka, or that descent that the trial brought, nonetheless Hashem promises the kiyum and the continuation of the world. So that's understandable that where there's been a question about something, and yet nonetheless we reconfirm it. And we not only reconfirm, but we add a promise to that that adds a tremendous koya to the whole inner of the Bria. Over that, Bereshis is more, how you would say, Momaila Lamata, how Hashem made the world. This is Momaila Lamata, how the world itself becomes in some way Ra'ui and worth, that it should have in itself this divine promise of an everlasting overholding power, despite the fact that there's been like a weak point in the middle. And we could give a dogma to that, and in some places it's brought down that in the halachas of the Gemara, if you have a star that somebody owes you money, and you have Adim and everything signed on the star, it's still possible under certain circumstances for the guy who took the money, he doesn't deny the star, he just says that I already paid. He can tell him, I already paid. And the star doesn't say that he didn't pay. The star said that he borrowed. However, if he said that this star is, forged, there was never any loan, and he says the star is not good, then if it's got two witnesses on it, he is timing that the two witnesses, never saw that, or that it's a block, So if you then go to the Bezdin, you call in the witnesses, and they say that that's their Ksab and they say that they were actually there when the money passed hands, or that's called Kiyum Hashtar. So the Gemara says after that, he can't time it anymore that the star's a forgery. He can time it something else already, but he can't time it that. Why? Because the star has been, Makuyam. It's been given a kiyum by the Bezdin. And that's called so it's like here, the world was created, and then there's been as it were, a claim against its worthiness. It's a claim against its, how would you call it, its validity and its death. And so therefore Hashem has come back and he's given a Bezdin's, as it were, reconfirmation to the star. So we could compare the two concepts, you follow? So that's the greatness of Noach, that it's like the world meets on its own effort of restating itself after a very negative thing, or that's already a very firm form of promise on the part of the Creator that the world's going to hold firm. So he said, "Parsha Bereshis Masupa Bria, or Parsha Noach Haftocha Kiyumo Ilam Boifen Nitzchi Sheboli Achrei Hamabel." It already comes out to the challenge that's been made to the whole existence of the world, and then it says, Hashem promises that Oid Kol Yemei Ha'oret, from now on, all the days of the earth are not going to change. Lo Yishboisu, they will never, reach a state of rest. They will never be blotted out again. Here the word Yishboisu, they won't stop. Yeah. Hashem promises the ongoing cycle of the world. And that's what we see, that the Posse tells us about the winter and the summer, the night and the day and everything. The whole Seder of the world has been promised by Hashem that that's not going to alter. That's like a reconfirmation of the whole existence of the world. So he said, Parsha Bereshis Medubal Shleimus Kiyumo Yom Kavishu Behetam Lekavana Elyon. The whole inning of the perfection of the world is purely from Hashem looking down at the world after He's created it, and He said, "Oh, this is great. Yes, this is wonderful. Oh, but this is how He's looking at it with His. Come on, yeah, lo yishlei Moshe mitzad atzmo." It's not a koya which is invested in the very oilam itself, but it's purely due to the fact that Hashem, looking at it, and he's pleased, and he calls it Tov Mod Mitzad, what he sees that he would want of the world. But if we're going to say that it comes from the world itself, Makbil Avedus Hashem B'tei Gidrei Ha'olam. Well, that's similar to our whole concept that the mankind has come into the ordinary flow of the world and has served Hashem inside the flow of the world. Ella, he said, Shleimusei Kafi Shehu Mitzad Briosei Shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu. That's how it is in Shabbos Bereishis. Mekabel Makbil Avedus Hashem Hanaylich Shel Chodesh Tishrei. Oh, that's parallel and similar to the whole service of Chodesh Tishrei. Shein LaShoichas in Gidrei Ha'olam. That's how Hashem looks at it, and how Hashem hopes, and how he assumes that that's the world's going to be. Of a Shabbos Noach is after there's been a tremendous trial in the middle, and we've reconfirmed the whole thing. Well, that tends to indicate the work of man inside the world, and he's strengthened, as it were, the world. He's given it. Kaloimar. Davki kasher ha'olam nismal al pi madrigosei harutzuya v'amatima l'rotzeine shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Mitzad Shabbos Bereishis, as long as the world will be able to go and act according to in accordance to the Ratzon of Hashem, azai yesh lo zchus kiyom. Then it has, a right to exist, in other words, as a zchus kiyom. Ak b'shah shehu yored mimadrigosei zu, shuv eno zchishkom. Mitzad Shabbos Bereishis, since it's all from Hashem, and how Hashem's looking at it, how he sees it, everything is fine. And therefore it's written at the end of Shabbos Bereishis that when Hashem saw that man is not how he and he said, I'll wipe the whole thing out. It doesn't really have any reason to be, because he saw it as, through his holy and divine eyes. He saw it how it's really supposed to be. Over the pale, it hasn't been that way. Mitzad man who has Bechira, and he's chosen to go against it. So then Hashem said, okay, if that's the case, there's no real reason why I should continue. And therefore he said it doesn't really have any zchus kiyom. Apishashu yored madrigos shuvein le zchus kiyom. Omnam b'parsha Noach moduba al shleimus oelam mitzad gedorav. It's talking about the shleimus and the strength that was given into the makeup of the world, mitzad the world and its creatures, dahainu man. He said, "Ayechoilas lehiasalis b'chazora gam mimatzav bilti ratzui lechalutin." He said, we see that what happened in Parshas Noach, that the world made a comeback after a tremendous downfall, and it made that comeback on its own, as it were, initiative, on its own prayer. And he said, "V'zoi shalidei avedus hatshuva." And therefore the Rebbe said that the whole concept of tshuva, it brought down on our sages that it's like part of the makeup of the whole creation. Because if you do tshuva, then you have the ability to correct it. But the difference between tshuva and Hashem doing things is that that's his way of doing it. But tshuva is something that you've done. You have shown that you want to leave all the, as it were, the follies of your existence, and they want to come back to him. So the Rebbe learns pshat in the Sikha that even though it's not mentioned tremendously in detail, but we have to say that there was a whole Avedus tshuva here. At least Noach and his family that were with him in the Teva, they at least did tshuva in such a way that they made it possible for Hashem to see the world. And also it brought down in for him that Hashem foresaw the tshuva of certain great people throughout the generations. And on that basis he, as it were, he smelt the reach nechoyach of the korban that Noach offered. As brought down in the Zohar Kodesh, that korban that Noach offered up very, very special kohen. It's a very special korban. And it's not an ordinary korban at all. And it's like a korban of tshuva. But what Noach and his family were able to do, and it expresses the tshuva of the great Bali tshuva to come. Yeah, it's a whole amazing piece in the Zohar HaKodesh. So therefore, the Rebbe says, it comes out that the whole coming back of the world after the Mabul is Alidei, the world itself, all the people who are in the world. Yeah. Alidei tshuva. Adarabah, Davki metek matzav o'ilam l'kisha'atzmai. Davki, the way the world was in its own self, kafishu b'matzav yoru. Even though it's had a tremendous go down, it's had a fall, v'yesa mibchina ruchniya. From the point of view of spirituality, it's had a tremendous collapse. Nonetheless, and that's the inner, takten shein takten lamata himenu. There's nothing lower than that. That when the world goes against what Hashem really wanted, that's the lowest you can possibly go. Davki in that very low point, nasa matzav chodosh shel biro v'zicho. So the Rebbe said, what is tshuva? Tshuva is like purification and, how do you call it, refining. So what Noach and his family did through the inner of tshuva, well, that brought a whole, how do you call it, and the korban that he offered up. Well, that brought about like a purification in the very essence of the world. He said, "V'loshen Chazal al Noach li'achar sheyotza min ha'teiva oilam chodesh ro'or." There's a matter which says that when Noach came out of the world, he didn't recognize what it was like a new world. And it's very amazing that the Alter Rebbe brings down in Torah that the whole Mabul was like a mikveh. It was like the whole world was put in a huge mikveh. And therefore it was mem yom, what that is, indicative of mem so'or, of a mikveh and the whole thing. Yeah. Of a meal, the Mabul is not just a punishment, but the Mabul is like a huge dipping of the world into the mikveh. So therefore, once you've been through a purity like a mikveh, and in addition to that, they also made an effort on their part, but that's the inner of tshuva, then that changes the actual nature of the world. So when you look at the world, you can see, if you got good eyes, then you can see a new world. And that's what the Medrash says, that Noach saw a new world after he came out. Yeah, when he came out with everybody, after he offered the korban, he saw a whole new world. And that's because we must never think that we have no effect. We have an effect. That by doing our task in Ruchnias, we have an effect on the world. And therefore, there's a famous shaila that the sign that Hashem gave that He's never going to re-destroy the world through a flood was the keshet. How do you call it? How do you call the keshet? Rainbow. Yeah, the rainbow. So some of the great Meforshim, even the Rishonim, they say that the rainbow is a natural thing. Yeah, that when there's a certain moisture in the clouds and the sun hits that moisture, then it makes it's not a miraculous thing that Hashem introduced into the world. As if so, why did Hashem choose that to be the sign that He's never going to do? You need something miraculous or l'mayla than the world to show that that's going to be like a promise to the everlasting kiyum of the world. Over here, it's something that's part of the world anyway. So you know what they answer, and it's brought down in Maimon from the Alter Rebbe, also brought down from the Rabbein, and they say that it's not the same world, that the clouds before the Mabul, even if you would have put the sun on the clouds before the Mabul at all the angles, you would never have got a rainbow. Why? Because the clouds were raw. They were coarse and not idle, they weren't nice, the cloud. After the Mabul, it's a different type of cloud. It's an idle cloud. And therefore, when the sun shines at that, it gives off something in a form of a beautiful, so therefore, on the contrary, the keshes is indicative of everything that happened. On the contrary, it's a sign of what really occurred, and it's a sign of how man is able to affect and elevate the world. You follow? Yeah, it's very powerful. Avamela, that's hinted at in the lesson of the Medrash, the Elam Chodesh Ra'am. He saw a whole new world. So therefore, he said, Achilok shebein shtei parshiyot, b'ol idei bitu ach binyan noizah. So the Rebbe said this amazing difference between looking at it through Hashem's eyes, how he saw it, and now looking at it through, after men have changed things through their own actions, and they've given a new promise into the eternity of the world. Do you want some, maybe we should have some hot coffee. Maybe we should bring for everybody, not just for me. So, the Rebbe said there's another very important difference between the two parshas, which that also expresses itself in this direction. Yedua, Sheshem Elokim, Hu B'Gematria Teva. The word Shem Elokim is 86, and Ha Teva with a Hey is the same gematria. The Elokim indicates Teva. V'inyon hayu da'agas Elokus ashayach le'elon. The Shem Elokim, it's the name of the Eibusha which brings the tremendous power, which is the power to create from the Shem Havaya into a hiddenness that you look at the world and you don't see the Shem Havaya. For a certain extent, you don't even see the Shem Elokim. You just see a world that looks as if it all just runs perfectly all the time. So that's what we say, that the Indian of Elokus Ashayat Lo'elam, Shem Elokim makes it appropriate to the world, not to Hashem. And therefore he says, Bereshit Bora Elokim, Eish HaShamayim V'eish Ha'oretz, that the Ika Bria is through the infant Shem Elokim, Davka. He said, V'iro Shem Havaya, Hu Dargosi Shal HaKodesh Baruch Hu Hanailes Mi'inyon Ha'olam. The Shem Havaya, that indicates a koyach of Hashem, higher and beyond the whole inam of the world. On the contrary, it's the Shem which actually brings about Yesh Me'ayin, the actual koyach of creation, which is a tremendously powerful level of divine omnipotence. That's in the Shem Havaya. If that were to shine in the world, then right from the beginning, then the whole world would be bottled, including ourselves. We would also be bottled. Why are we not bottled, and why do we experience the world with all of its, as it were, Matthias and its trial? Because the creation went through the Shem Elokim. We don't see Elokus, we see Teva. He said, Omnom, Yisavusai Shelo Elam Hakashmi Hu Davke Mikoicha Shel Hashem Havaya. The truth of the matter is, the word Omnom means, however, the truth is that the creation of the Olam HaGashmi is Davke from the Shem Havaya. But the koyach to bring about the Yesh Min Ha'ayin is Davke from Hashem and His essence, like the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya. Melosh Mahave, Shekein Davke Mitzad Dage, Zur Shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Dahainu, a very high level of His essence, Davke Titochen Brias Olam Gashmi. Davke you can have Yesh Mi'ayin, a key godel, but that's Yesh Mi'ayin HaGashmi. That's precisely from the Shem Havaya, how it's indicative of a very high level. There are different levels in the Shem Havaya. That's the power of the Atzmias to bring about the Olam HaGashmi. He said, Achi, Sabazu, Nasis Derech Yislabshusa Shal Shem Havaya, Vashem Elokim. Is in Kain L'choira, this whole world should be a tremendous dance of bittul to Hashem, because this is the highest koyach of the Shem Havaya, to create the world. Why is it that we sort of walk around and we have to go and live a good day and we don't realize what's going on? He said, because that Shem Havaya is mitlabesh. Mitlabesh means it enters a garment and the garment, as it were, covers it and makes it a bit like it. You follow? So he said, therefore there's a hislapshus at Hashem Havaya in Hashem Elohim. Hamagbil Umalim al Hashem Havaya, and it limits the Gilui at Hashem Havaya. It doesn't limit the Etz of Hashem Havaya, but limits the Gilui at Hashem Havaya. Kasher v'nivroim atzmom mitgaler rak Hashem Elohim v'lo Hashem Havaya. And in the Hashem Elohim also, only the results of the Hashem Elohim. We don't really see the Hashem Elohim either. So he said, B'parsha Bereshis Meduba Ka'omo Ala Shleimus O'Elam Mitzad Briosei Ala Kodesh Baruch Hu. We just learned before the Bereshis is like how Shem sees the perfection of the world. L'leihis Yachasas L'Shleimus HaKeshura Begidr Ha'olam Atzmei. It's got nothing to do with the world in its own right. Alidei Avodah Boy, which would come through our Avodah, Lamaisa Avodah Zu Poelas Alav, Poelas Eloi God will be. The truth of the matter is that this Avodah, it brings about a very great Eloi in the creation, which is Kaviyoho not there, just mitzad the way Hashem created. He said, Davki Alidei Avodah Begidrei Ha'olam. And this is very common in all these very latter period seers of the Rebbe. He talks about this whole concept of being like in the world, and they're making the Gilei Elikus Hamidi, because that's ultimately the whole message of Mashiach, and that's what the Rebbe is aiming for. The Davki inside the Gidrei Olam, we should carry out what only we are able to do through our Avodah. Yeah, so he said, and therefore our Avodah has the ability to bring about a Gilui of Elikus, even inside the Helen Vayesta. Yeah, but Kak Poilim as Gilui Shem Havaya, and therefore we poil a Gilui of Shem Havaya, and one can see how the whole world is botil to the Koyach Elikus, which is making it. But that's Gilui Shem Havaya. So he said, Zois b'shoinim mahus oilam mitzad bri osai, and that's different and very, very unusual compared to the essence of the world it was at mitzad its creation. Shekamo ein nikaboy ela Hashem Elokim, and in that gufa, nothing very much. Shinyone tzimtzum v'hester. We only recognize the Hashem Elokim. How Hashem created it was Davki Shai Rak Le'elakus B'derek Namucha Le'elakus She'be'erek L'brio. However, through the tshuva of Noach and all the great tzaddikim afterwards, then Niya Kli Le'elakus, the world becomes a vessel to Elikus Shalamayla Mishaychas level. It becomes a kli not only to the Shem Elokim, but to the Shem Havaya, which is Legamri Lamayla Mihoi. V'lochein, B'parsha Bereshis, Sheba Meduba Dayin Ala Shleimus Oilam Koidam Ha'aved. That's all just the way Hashem saw. Before we do our Avodah, particular Avodah Tshuva, Mudgesh Rak Shem Elokim, Bereshis Bor Elokim is a Shemayim word. The Ike is the Shem Elokim. Ach behemshech haparsha, kasher kwa mushka Shem Havaya, b'yoyim asois Havaya Elokim eretz v'Shemayim. At the end of the Shivat Shemay Bereshis, Ari Shemedubu Davke al Shem Havaya, k'vishu mislavish b'Shem. Yeah, Havaya Elokim. That's still talking about the Shem Havaya, how he's mitgaleh through the Shem Elokim, even when he mentions already the Shem Havaya. Yeah, kasher hagile b'nivroim u'mishem Elokim bilvad ka'oma u'liumosa b'parsha Noach mudgesha shleimus oilam mitzad dargosei hu, what the world can show and what the world can give, and that giving on the part of the world will make it possible for the breakage of the Hillam and the Gilui of the Shem Havaya Davshi. Shekam po mitgaleh Shem Havaya ועד שניקה כיצד מציאס העולם עצמי, יש משם אלוקים הדבק בו מצמצם, הרי לאמיתוסי של דור. If we look at the emes of the world, yeah, he mishem havaya, it's not from the Shem Elokim, it's precisely from the Shem havaya, ובלושן הכוסו, havaya hu Elokim. Yeah, it's brought down in Parshas Veschonan, ידעת היום והשוויס לבבך כי הוויה הוא אלוקים. In other words, that the whole ability to bring about the limited world is how the Shem Havaya gives power into the Shem Elokim to do that. Well, not that the Shem Elokim is the whole story. The real story is the Shem Havaya, but it's not Begalui. That the Avodah of the world, Mitzadatmai, particularly through the Inyan of Noach and the Tshuva, well, that made it possible to see the Shem Havaya inside the Shem Elokim, to realize that Be'emes, the whole world is Mitzad the Shem Havaya Davka. Yeah. So the question is, how do we see that? Where do we see that the world is, as it were, it's had a tremendous, all-enveloping power called the Shem Havaya, after the Mabul. Where do we see that? So, I don't know if we're going to have time to cover the whole thing in the writing here, but let's make a start and see what we can. So the Rebbe says, Inyan zeh mitbateh b'shnei inyonim b'parshat Noach. He said, one is, Havtochas HaKadosh Baruch Hu al kiyam ha'olam, Ba'ivin shelo yishboisu, that they will never go to rest, all the Seder of the world, and everything will discontinue. Oh. And then the second thing is the Inyan of the Keshas. And so we'll see that there's like a difference between them. So the Rebbe said, what's the milah or the promise on the part of Hashem that everything will not change? It'll never, as it were, rest from this whole Seder again. So as so the Shaila L'chora, that's just the world being more permanent. Where is there like a whole chain in that promise? So the Rebbe said, it's like this. If you look at the world carefully, then you see in the limited world, the way it is, day and night, winter and summer, and all those things on him. He said, you see the power that it doesn't change. So if we examine anything which is limited, the Rambam tells us in Moyer Navugim and in other great Forim brought down that something which is limited in its very soul, l'chora must have a limit how long it can go. It can't be eternal in its function because it's a limited thing. If it's a limited thing, it must have a limited life. It must ultimately stop or cease or in some way weaken or whatever. So he said the fact is that the world does not weaken, it just keeps going. Lo yesh boisu is a promise on the part of Hashem. So the Rebbe said, where does that come from? Well, that comes from a koyah that's outside the world, that there's something expressing itself in the world which makes it absolutely unchangeable in its own self. It functions ever. So he said you have to have what the Alter Rebbe called Eisbonen. You have to pay attention and you have to study it. But if you do, you see that there's an unbelievably eternal and beyond limitation power in the limitation. Then he said that's the koyach of the Bilti Baal Gvul inside the Gvul. And that's the union of the two great factors in Hashem, Bilti Baal Gvul and Gvul. Unite themselves together. And if you study carefully the world, that's what you will see. And this is what, how do you call it, great thinkers throughout the generations, and particularly the great Jewish teachers, the Rambam, the Reid, that's what they saw when they saw the promise of the Mabul, after the Mabul, that this will never rest again, it will never change, and everything will just function. Well, that's like a a union of two opposite koyches. On the one hand, a limited koyach, but on the other hand, absolutely unlimited power, which is keeping that limited koyach going and makes it, as it were, unchangeable. And so it's brought down, there was a very great saver, was written, and the Rebbe Rasha brings it down in Samavol, in New Hampshire, Samavol. He was called the Akedah Yitzchok. He was around about the time of Girish Swad, and he was a great Bala Drush, and he wrote this very big sefer called the Akedah Yitzchok. And in the Akedah, that's what he says. He says that the whole greatness of the Loish Boisu promise on the part of Hashem is the union of the two essential aspects of Elokus, Bli Gul and Gul. So, Einochanami, it's not mommy pushing you in the eye. You have to study it carefully, but if you do it, that's the conclusion you're obliged to come to. Of Amele, you can see in the limited world the power of the Shema, the power of the Shemavai. That's one thing. And the Rebbe said the other thing is the inner of the Keshes, and he called the rainbow. That's the other thing. So the Rebbe said, what is the inner of the Keshes? Amashamish ois lekiyum oilom, anoitzeres mi yeishtakvus kame Hashemesh banan. That comes from the flow back, how do you call it, from the flashback of the Shemesh into a cloud, into the moisture of a cloud at a certain angle. And like I told you, that some of the great Mephoshim were that the clouds became more idle through the, and that indicates the purification of the very material of the world. The Gili Shemavaya Betoichoi, or Anan, or Elam in Oret, the Eid Yalemanot Nazimazucha. Then where did it come from? The Eid came from the earth itself. The earth came up, but that becomes more elevated. Yeah? And that indicates that man has the ability to affect the world and make it more, as it were, elevated more. He said, and the Shemesh is indicative of the Shemavaya. So the earth Shemesh is able to flow back from the clouds. Before it wasn't able to. So he says, yeah, Harimemes the Shemavaya, the Shema is a remnant to the Shemavaya. Shemesh Mogen Havaya Elohim is a person in Tibet. ולכן האיש לקיום העולם על ידי הקשר דווקא, שבזה מרומז כיצד במציאות של העולם הגשמי ניכר ומתגלה יד הכוח האינסוף, יד הכוח הבלי גבול, ממי, that the whole Choyma Ha'olam was changed through man having reached the Shemavaya, the power of the Bli Gvul, and that has affected the world. If Amela Nikeras boy Metzius Oamitis, which is the Shemavaya, really the truth of everything is only the Shemavaya. And you begin to wake up, what is really, yes, Daki Memena Misava Hayezra Kashmi, Vishnai Inyonim Elu, Truim Zebazeh, Shekain Kiyum Anitzchi, Shaloilom, Mudgar Shalidea Kesers. Because the Nitzchios was the milah that in the not changing, well, that Nitzchios also expresses itself in the Kesed, because the Kesed is a sign that it's not going to go down again. And the Kesed itself is a sign of the hidden Nitzchios, which is the Shemavaya, because it's a sign of how the whole world has changed, both through the Mabul and through the Tshuva and the Aveda Saniva. Milamatalam. Avamila, that becomes a whole new world, and that's what the Medrash said. That Noah, when he looked at the world, he saw a whole new world, because he studied it carefully, and he lived it through, and he realized the change which had taken place, the Gil of the Shemavaya, compared to the Shemavaya. Pretty amazing stuff. So, now the Rebbe changes the whole flow of the Sikha, and he says something very interesting. And he says like this, that if you come to that realization, that is the greatness of Parsha Noach, the revelation of the bleak wool and the wool together, and that you see the emes of koyach of the bleak wool in the wool. So the Rebbe said, you're supposed to become a bit of a different sort of a guy. If you realize that that's what's really the story of the world, then you can't just go home, put up your feet and smoke a cigar. I mean, you could, but l'chora, you shouldn't feel comfortable doing that anymore, because you realize that you come to a whole new understanding of the world. The whole world is different than what it looks. So the Rebbe said, Im Kain, you should make on that basis a cheshbon hanefesh. Etikot, a self-examination with the idea of coming to a result. That you were supposed to do way back in Elul, before Rosh Hashanah, and during the Seres Meitzuvah, before Yom Kippur. What now? So the Rebbe said that was before, in reference to mainly to the year which has gone past. And it was also because of Marira. Had it got, with a self-embitterment and a self-criticism in a high way, looking back bitterly over all your mistakes in the year which has gone past. He said, here, the Cheshbon HaNefesh is, what should you really be doing in this world? If the world is the way that we just said, then what am I supposed to be doing? You understand? Not what have I done that I mess things up. Not that. But I have to make a cheshbon. How am I going to be in the future? And in that, the Rebbe says there's also two different levels. There's a very high level where you go up and you're higher than all the Hakbolas, and you don't sort of look at the details as the only question, but the details sort of get drawn into all your tremendous zest that you make within yourself, this whole new elevation that you bring about in yourself. If only you look at the world in a whole cheshbon tzedek, positive, looking towards the future, not worrying about what you messed up in the past, but looking toward. And he said that's the koyach of Shabbos Noach, and hidden in that is Shabbos Bereshis, Kamura, and Tishrei. Oh, but this is the koyach that you get from Noach, that everything changed mitzad l'mata and l'mayla. And who is the l'mata l'mayla? That's you. As if so, you got to get moving. You got to get started and bring about a new world. Yeah. So you have to make a new cheshbon hanefesh. That's what the Rebbe said, a whole new cheshbon hanefesh altogether. But you have to do it mitay simul v'tov levo. You have to do it. And he got liberty. And he said, normally, we don't make cheshbon hanefesh on Shabbat. Because it's a bit sort of, it's a bit mariristic, and that doesn't fit with Shabbat. But he said, this cheshbon hanefesh is actually good for Shabbat, because this is positive. And this is, looking into the future and building a whole new world. He said, you can think about it on Shabbat, because that's very appropriate to the whole spirit of Shabbat, especially Shabbos Parsha Noach. That's the whole big new idea that the Rebbe introduces here. So I think that's pretty amazing, no? a cheshbon hanefesh in the middle of Shabbos Parsha Noach. And so now the Rebbe says, Im Kain, if you're making already a cheshbon hanefesh, then it's good to make a hachloto. Yeah, it's good to make a decision, a resolution. So the Rebbe said, you know what you should do? He said, one of the things that's a little bit sort of not paid a great deal of attention to in modern day life is Kiddush Levana. People sort of make Kiddush Levana quickly, and that's it. You say Shalom Aleichem and you go home, So the Rebbe said, since Kiddush HaChodesh is really the expression of all that we've spoken about here, it's the yichud of Havaya of Elokim, it's the changing of a new month, a whole new Ashpah, and Yidden are going to come renewed, and also indicator of the Gula Shleimo. But that's one of the eager things of the whole Cheshbon and Nefesh, has to be, how am I going to change in a way that I'll be ready for the Gula? Yeah, for the Gula Shleiman. The Rebbe speaks about that also. Parigid. So he said, Kiddush Levana is like a symbol of the Gula Shleiman. So he said, what you got to do is in every town and that, you got to live up the Kiddush Levana. You got to make it a very, even bring an orchestra or have music. Do it a bit later in the evening and get organized. And you had to make it a big Levitic Gazette. And a lot of people say, what's all this? What's going on? So people say, this is Kiddush Levana. So, yeah, take it. What's Kiddush Levana? And they'll get all drawn in. And they'll also get, Levitic and Freyla. Yevamela, it'll be Levitic and Freyla. Mitzad Havaya Hu Elokim. And the Rebbe finished off the Sikha by saying 7 times, like we do, Yom Kippur, Havaya Hu Elokim. Yeah. The Rebbe called out in front of everybody 7 times, Havaya Hu Elokim. It's put down in the Sikha, how it really is. It's printed that the Rebbe said 7 times, Havaya Hu Elokim.
That's the concept of the Sikha of the Yichud ben Shem Havaya and Shem Elokim.
Can't hear what he's saying. Anyway, what it comes down is that the Rebbe saw this point. There's a tremendous point to reshape your whole self, get ready for the Geulah, and cause a new enthusiasm in the whole concept of Shem Huel.
If you want me to translate it?
That's the Kiddush Levana, basically. Yeah. And the Rebbe said, like, at the end of Yom Kippur, he said the whole thing. That's what we say at the end of the Kiddush Levana, Ubitshuas Hashem, there's always Malcolm. If you're already going for the Shem, you're a little bit to the limit.
400, like 10%, 15%. Yes.
Pretty hefty stuff.
Rabbi Gafni, Mendel asked, the whole essence of the Sikha is the unification of Shem Havaya and Shem Elokis. That was his question.
Yeah.
Mendel.
So the Rebbe said,
That's the whole thing. We
Elokim.
spoke about how we have to bring about the Shem Elokim should be Meir Alidei. I'm sorry, the Shem Havaya should be Meir in the world what the Shem Elokim brings about. As he came, we will see that the Shem Elokim doesn't cover over the Shem Havaya. It doesn't, to use the expression, contradict the Shem Havaya.
Okay.
They'll cover it over. But on the contrary, it's the woolly thing. He's only to bring about the amazing kavanah of Hashem, that in this limited world should be the killer of the blink. That's Hashem, whoever. You understand?
Yeah.
That the rotzim of Hashem is tafki through the Hashem Elokim. And therefore they're basically one thing.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Very good question, Mendel.
As put down in the Zohar, the Rebbe brings it in a footnote, that one of the principal commandments in the whole Torah is to know that Hashem Hu Elokim. As I put down in the Zohar, Parshas Chon.
Shem Elokim. Yeah. Is your phone okay? Carry with it? Your phone's okay? Bezrat Hashem.
It's amazing Gilui. The tone.
Sorry, Mendel, just lift your hands up.
There's another little product, I don't have the sig in front of me, that they bring down, that the Rebbe called out, and he said, well, in the Niggin of Yom Kippur, he said, to the Niggin of Yom Kippur, Havaya Hu Elokim, Havaya Hu Elokim. 7 times. And then he said something else. I can't remember. They bring that there be added another statement. Yeah, I just can't remember at this moment what it was. Yeah, my mind's so busy with trying to knit together all these different things that I just don't remember that at this moment. But you just imagine all the animals sitting there all suddenly. To use the expression, everybody took off.
What?
Can I get there, Philip?
Mum.
Okay.
This is a bar creates.
Ja, Karsalve, Barprits.
Hashem Zayis.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Have a finish.
Adama.
What?
Some other.
That's.
It's written on the vodka.
That's.
It's written the word vodka. Anyway, it's certainly good.
Chaim Rocha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהכל נהיה בדברו. חיים.
I don't think it's pure vodka, but it's good.
It's better vodka.
Imitation.
Why these people, Johnny Walker or Uncle Smith?
The real Russian Mavinim, they wouldn't accept it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei mezonot.
Hmm?
Mr. Ellis.
Question?
Birthday for Chris Ellis.
You're giving me an 8, so I can 8. You're giving me 8 and 8.
Oh. Done.
Amen. Chaim.
So one on tonight, Gimel Cheshvan, tonight is early Gimel Cheshvan, is the outside of the Hedley corrosion. The Hedley corrosion is the outside of Gimel Cheshvan. And I was saying to Benji on the way here that I think it's either Gimel or Dalet, that's for sure. Cheshvan is also the outside of the Baal Chavis Talmidim, the Rebbe that was perished in the Warsaw Ghetto, the Talmud, when he could have got out, the Nazis already agreed to let him out. But he said he didn't want to leave his Talmudim, he didn't want to leave it. Whatever will be there, Toil, that's it. Yeah, he was a very great person, and he had the most amazing gift of understanding how grow up to medium and understand their problems and recognize what are they living through and how to deal with, how to guide them nonetheless. And that's this work that he wrote called the Chavas Talmudim. And his yeshivas that he founded, those who went on in his spirit, they founded yeshivas called Eish Kodesh, hinting at the unbelievable kedusha of him, that he passed away in the fire of the Holocaust when he could have saved himself, because his followers and his chassidim had already persuaded the Nazis to smuggle him out and to let him through. But when they told him, he refused. And so he's very, very, a very great person. So tonight or tomorrow night, let's check on the altar. So anyway, what I wanted to say about the Heilige Ruzna is that the actual city of Ruzhin, per se, is in Russia. And even to this day, it's inside the Gulim of Ukraine, I think, or somewhere to do with Russia. And the original cities, Ruzhin, as founded by the Heilige Ruzhin, was in Russia. And he was, his great leadership of this great movement of Chassidus that he started began in Russia. It's just that after a certain period of time, there was, like in many cases, there was how do you call it, a malshin, or how do you call it, a malshin, like a frame up against him about those who were not his best friend. And he was put in jail by the Russian authorities, and he was in jail for about a year. The Heilige Ruzna sat a long time in jail. And during that time, he began to realize that Russia was no longer his place. It wasn't good for him. And when he got out, he began, I just don't remember under what circumstances it occurred, but he began a flee and getting out of Russia, together with a whole group of his citizens. And they planned to flee in a certain direction, that they would go over the Austrian border into Austria. And that's in effect what happened after Truman. But after a while, the Russian authorities realized what was happening, and they chased after him. And there was this tremendous, mirdaf on their part after the Heilige Ruzna. In those days, it was all coaches and horses. His coach and horse managed to remain ahead of the pursuers, and eventually he got over, even though he was stopped at the border and everything. But miraculously, he got over the border and passed the guards and everything. I don't know if he had official papers, but he managed to persuade them, and they let him pass. And once he got into the relations between Austria and Russia were not the best at that time. So the Austrian, anybody got into their area, they sort of welcomed him, particularly if he came from Russia, because it was like a sort of a moral victory on their part that they were taking away from them. And therefore the Tsar and all of these guys, they put in an official, how do you call it, deportation ruling. They wanted that Austria should deport the Heilige Ruzna back, and they refused. Yeah, because of the bad relations, and because they wanted to show that they were the Balabatim, they refused to give him back. And therefore he settled in a town which is known today as Sadigura, and that's why the Hemshech of the Chassidus Ruzhin is called Sadigura. Yeah. Wow. And then there are other branches, like the Yan and other branches, that grew out from Einiklat and other sons of the Heilige Ruzna. So the Heilige Ruzna had his origination in Russia. And it's well known that the whole Korea, Siddur, per se, grew up in Gafni in Russia. The Baal Shem Tov was born in Russia, or in Ukraine, I guess, yeah. And the whole beginning of his teaching and everything is all inside Russia. It's all from the Korea, the Medina Russia. And it's well known that the Baal Shem Tov said that he's pleased that he was born in Russia. That the Aviyah from Russia is Aviyah Moksha, yeah, sure. And the Alter Rebbe is well known. The Alter Rebbe was very good Russian citizen and everything. You know the whole story of Alexander and everything. In the Napoleon War, the Alter Rebbe expressed loyalty to the Russian government, how pleased he was to be a Russian citizen. Yeah, the whole thing, yeah. Ganze Riga, so the Russian citizens grew up in like the mockery of the whole. Therefore, the Heilige Russian was a most amazing person. Everybody who met him was just completely thunderstruck by him. And it's well known, the story that some of the big Lubavitchers said him, like Rabbi Zechomela and Rabbi Moshe Belenke, they went on shlichus for the Tzemach Tzedek to the Heilige Russian, and they almost wanted to stay there. They were so impressed and so taken by his whole personality. And he himself, he told them that he will not accept them, that they belong to the Tzemach Tzedek. They don't belong to him, no, they belong to the Rebbe. It's a whole story, a whole amazing story, yeah. About certain great Chassidim, that they were very, very impressed with him. So, if I'm not mistaken, there was once a very remarkable statement by the Tzemach Tzedek in reference to it. I think it was Rabbi Zechomela, I think so. Or maybe it was somebody else, I'm not sure. Rabbi Zechomela was Mark Young and Ad Kedekah. But anyway, he was Mark Young, but Ad Kedekah. But it could be it was him or it was one of the other great cities. And they couldn't hold back. And they told the Tzemach Tzedek they were tremendously impressed by the Heilige Jerusalem and how much they felt a certain attraction, to even put their flag, by in his camp. So the Tzemach Tzedek took it very calmly. He wasn't, horrified or insulted or anything like that. He just said that he understands him very good. He said, but the difference is, he said, the Heilige Jerusalem und seine Weg, das ist all derre, wie der Weide vom Attenteur. And he said, uns sind mehr, die was wir tun der Weide von noch Attenteur. So I saw the side of what did he mean with that? What is the kill of the hint? So the hint is that the Heilige Jerusalem was very holy. That Tzemach Tzedek was the one that said you have to call him the Heilige Jerusalem. That's where the expression comes from. But the Tzemach Tzedek said, that's well known in Lubavitch, that they didn't give titles, about that. Yet nonetheless, the Tzemach Tzedek said you have to call him the Heilige Jerusalem. However, it belongs to a going up and an elevation in a very high way. And we saw that there's a necessity to be elevated, go up, and we learned in the Sikha. But ultimately, the whole is they have to come down into the Gidrei Ho'ilom, the lesson of the Rebbe, and inside the world. You got to be Megala, the Shem Havaya, inside the whole setup of the world, the way it is. That's the inyan of Matan Torah. The whole inyan of Matan Torah it's like another gather of Matan Torah, that the whole Matan Torah was Hashem wanted that Ritzoyne should come down into the Olam HaGashmi. Prior to that, it was a Ruknestika on a very high level, a Veda. The Hashem wanted it up in the Olam HaGashmi and to be Mahabik, the Dover HaGashmi also, to a Dover Shal Kedusha and to a Dover Shal Elokut. That was the whole idea, Manta. So Lubavitch represents the ultimate koyach of the Baal Shem Tov to bring people down into the world and down in the Gidra Ho'elam, or B'toy Gidra Ho'elam, to be Megala and to see, and not only that, but to live B'poel Mamis, the union of Gvul and Bli Gvul together in a very amazing way that the Rebbe brought out in the sea. And that's the ultimate, what you might call rotten in Matan Torah. That's the ultimate inyan. But Kamuban, I don't mean any Parshas Sakovet Chas V'Shalom Gafni Ruzin. It's a very high movement. I'm just going on the basis of what that's on the Tzedek said. And therefore, if you hear stories about the Heilige Orizna, the way people were really tremendously taken by him, that they saw that he could sort of go up. He'd just be sitting talking to you, and then all of a sudden he'd just sort of go up, and you would see that he's no longer with you. You know, he's somewhere else altogether. And that power that he had just to all of a sudden just go upwards, you know, almost like this mamish take off to somebody who was really into Edelkeit. It was noticeable. People could see this happening, you know, and they were tremendously impressed. And they wanted to sort of get in and have a part in that whole thing. However, the Tzemach Tzedek brought them back down into the Gidrei Ho'elam. He said, the Ho'inef and Lubavitch. And that means to say, perhaps we could say, that Lubavitch is even higher, that Lubavitch goes mamish into the Koira Atzmi, the Koira Atzmi, like we saw in the Sikha at the end. So that gives you the power to be on a high level and see the Shem Havayim, but see it inside and unite it with the Dover HaGashmi Davke, to make Davke the world a Kli, Velosh Maksida, yet to the Gili Haki Elim. Therefore the Rebbe brings in a footnote in the Sikha that it's not just Gilui Shem Havaya, how it's Mahava the world, but that's also a Kohen. It's a Gilui, the Shem Havaya, de la Eilo, yeah, the Etzminya of the Shem Havaya is like a Shem of the Atzmas, Mami. Ukiyadur, the whole people is there. And so that there's the Indian of the Shem Etzem, the Shem Havaya is Mami, Kaviyol, the name of the very Atzmas of Hashem, Kipshutei. You've got to get up to there, and you've got to bring that down and show how it's there in the world and bring it into the mummies. And that's the whole message of Parshas Noach. And therefore we can say that that's the whole. And therefore there was a taina once to Lubavitch in the old days. And people used to say that Lubavitch takes people up in the world where they don't really understand so clearly. You talk with them about spiras and about Lamailamia spiras. And he said, you persuade yourself that people really understand, or they really know intimately what they're talking about. So the answer in Lubavitch was that ain't no harm. It could be that, a guy doesn't really, know all the intimate mahus, tika, hasoga, what a spirit, how it all works. But the fact that he's busy and he's in a world and he moves in such a world, he becomes busy, he becomes affected by that. So when he comes back to the world, he can't look at the world in the same way. The world doesn't, deceive him anymore. There's an old saying in Yiddish, you can't deceive him anymore, because he's been in a higher world. He doesn't become this Paul from all the plot of this world. Let's see all that. Yesh Laima, that's what the Tzemach Tzedek meant. That the Lubavitch is in that regard. That you've got to move in a much incomparably higher world and bring that down and live with it and change your whole life. And that's ultimately the message of Matan Torah. That's ultimately. Well, not that the Heilige wasn't out there, he was also out there, but it was like a bechina, a state, an oifen, of Lamayla Mihoi. Therefore, if you look at the Maimer in Torah this week, what is the Alter Rebbe concerned with? The Alter Rebbe is concerned with the old classical kasha that the neshama, the way it is, Lamayla, has a perfect existence. That lives in a world of Elokus and everything's laid on. How do you call it? The year of perfection, in the highest possible way. And what do? You take it and shove down, you send it down into the world. Not only do you do that, but that's how huge you read it, but you give it a program from Daiges Hapanoza, from living in the world. How am I going to work? How am I going to live? And how am I going to provide? And the man becomes, he becomes Toru, the Mutra, and he becomes Gilisan, and he ends up spending a huge amount of time on a chore, nicht b'shvil zeh hu yirad lemata. Or Chabonim, it's hard to imagine that because of that he would come down into the world. So the Alter Rebbe deals with that problem. And the Alter Rebbe is manachin every year, and he says, don't worry about the fact that you have all this Indian of Kiyum, Hapanosa and Daya and all this, and Mutra, and so many hours of your day that you're busy with all sorts of things. He said, don't be upset by that. Realize that you have to look into the pneumias of that itself, and you have to see that that itself is going to be a tremendous aliyah if you only think about it carefully and look at it. What does it really do? It creates in you a tshuka to Atma saying, so you want to get back higher than you would have had you stayed the way you were in Gan Eden. You know what I'm saying? And in that kufa, it's like the old saying, in Meneu Bay, in the Etzem Torah itself, he shows you how it's right. And that's a whole unbelievable greatness of Chassidus Chabad, that it shows you Meneu Bay of everything. Like we see here, there was this Loyi Boiso, it's a very interesting, beautiful phenomenon of the world functions without stop. So there is no think, what does that mean? There's a queer, a bleak world inside the world. And that's a queer, I ain't so mama. And that's Lubavitch. Lubavitch always sees the queer, what looks to be a Torah is really not. And therefore what's going on? That the Maggid said, Tzoiha, Ta'asel, Teibo, that's one on. The word Tzoiha is also Oisius Torah. Yeah, also Oisius Torah. But if you learn Chassidus and you look at the Tzoiha, you look at the Lichtigkeit from Chassidus, you can turn the Torah also into a Tzoiha. You can make what looks to be a Torah, you can make the Lichtigkeit. That's the whole Indian. The Alter Rebbe, when he took upon himself this unbelievable task of teaching, and the Middle Rebbe in Torah, Chaim, goes into the whole thing, tremendous arenas, how in all the Bilbulim, Davki doesn't the Aliyah, Davki them, is the Aliyah. It's absolutely amazing. That's the greatness of the Bible. That's the whole unbelievable Uftu. And that's the whole tour that Rebbe wants us to change our whole view and to see the whole world as just a medium for coming to Moshiach. The whole way that Hashem wants now is that Tavki from the Torah of the Golas, we have to make Tzoiha, we have to make a beautiful Litika, Evan Tov, to light up the whole world. And so it all goes back to the Baal Shem Tov. That the Baal Shem Tov said, what the Baal Shem Tov said, that he said, Eish Torah, he leyankiv, umimena yivashaya. So the Baal Shem Tov said that Davki from the Torah itself, you have to get the Yeshua. Eish Torah, umimeno, from the Torah. That is the Yeshua. That's a very profound, tremendously. And that's the whole, what the Maggid hid inside those words. A Torah turns into Tzoiha. Depends how you mahabra it and how you look at it. And that's the unbelievable greatness of Chassidus Chabad. And that's what the Rebbe wants. We're going to forget the gods and we're going to turn Tzorah into Tzoyah, Liktike. Unbelievable. And therefore it makes another combination, Ritzay. What Ritzay means to want. The Abisu will want it. And that's what Hashem will really want. Ritzay. Yeah, after Tzoyah. Yes. And it all begins. Don't be nisbol for Tzorah, Chas v'Sholem. I mean, nobody's asking for Tzorah lechatchila. But if it doesn't, there is a golus never. You have to realize that your whole job is to turn the Tzorah into Tzorah. It's all a few words from the Magid. It's a few words from the Baal Shem Tov. Mamish Pilepla. Avamela, guys, Gimon. Oh, and so if it's also the outside of this,
It's
it was even
Dalet.
pretend,
Yes, it's on Dalet Cheshvan.
but so,
Dalet.
not
He was the
anyway,
grandson,
Dalet is pretty good.
the grandson of Reb Noam Elimelech.
Huh?
He was a grandson of Reb Noam
Yeah,
Elimelech.
he's the son of him, no, Malimel. Yeah, he writes it in his story. He brings down about it. He's all upon him. So Dalet is a hemshech of Gimel.
Also today, the
So we see that here's people that they live for the most terrible sort of. I mean, we have no idea what the Shoya really represented. And it's beyond the whole ability of Seichel. And yet he was a man that he was not Nishpol. And in the ghetto, he wrote about how you should bring up Talmidim, how you should educate them inside the ghetto. It just doesn't make any sense, How can a man, be in such unbelievable sorrow and people dying all around him and everything, and he's writing this unbelievable work of education. Well, that indicates the power in the most terrible but the most effective way of turning the Torah into a Torah. You follow? And then what's very important, what Benji said, that he was a Einik from the Rebbe Elimelech. The Rebbe Elimelech was considered by the Polish Chassidim as the Rebbe of the Rebbes. He was like the Rebbe of the Rebbe. And he was a Talmud of the Maggid, and he was a brother of Reb Zushia. And it's well known how much the Alter Rebbe held from Reb Zushia. But it appears that he didn't really know the Rebbe Elimelech all that well. He did, because he came to the Maggid a bit later. He came at a bit later point. So the Alter Rebbe didn't know him so well. There are a few kuruzim where the Alter Rebbe signed together with the Rebbe Elimelech, where they signed on certain documents. But it appears that he didn't know him so well. But nonetheless, it's all there. It's all in the Torah somewhere. It's all the Maggid. And where's the Maggid? He's the Baal Shem. It's all there.
The Ruzhner is an Einikol of the Magid.
Huh?
The Ruzhner is an Einikol from the Magid, right?
Reb Zusha?
The Ruzhner, the Yisrael.
The Helike Ruzhana, yeah. But the Helike Ruzhana, he was a Einik from the Maggid. He was the son of Reb Sholem Shachner, Einikol. And Reb Sholem Shachner, he was a Eidim of the Helike Ruzhana of Smashner. The Kunda is that the Helike Ruzhana, he was Mamish Einikol of the Maggid. And Kyachenta, Rebbe, he was a direct Einikol from the Rebbe Elimelech. No. As a male L'chaim, and the Rebbe says, "I'll give him, and take simcha mitul levo," and from very mild sorrows, and from no longer real sorrows, just the very fact that there's still a Golas, and Mashiach hasn't come. We should turn that into Tzoyah, and it should become Ratzei, and Hashem will want. Ratzei Hashem, Vaidas Kol Yisrael, and we'll go together with the Rebbe, take it.
Chaim.
Chaim. Fine, fine.
it gewollt de Monnen Arleise.
English.
Arleise, Aaron Eliezer ben Yeshua Heschel. Heintig ben Jort.
Warum Leise given a position, so.
Aaron Eliezer, heintig de Jortzeit geben.
Yeah,
On purpose.
he's right. The Baron Leise Zeitler.
English.
He was a tzatza from a position.
It's the outside of Rebbe Eliezer.
Today
Aaron
was
Eliezer ben Yeshua. Dein Tate geist Yeshua Heschel. Dein Tate geist Yeshua Heschel. Aaron Eliezer
from
Yeshua
the
Heschel.
upset. Yeah,
Avram Heschel.
the afterwards, he wasn't mamish, he saw the Maggie, but I don't know if he actually learned from the Maggie. But, yeah, he was a great man also. Yeah, very much. He was, he's called a Talmud of the Maggie, but I don't think he was mamish, Talmud. He saw the Maggie.
name is Yiddish. He said it, he's saying Yiddish.
That's,
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Chaim.
That the Neshama should have a reader. That should have a year.
No, come back.
The infant killed somehow.
Everybody, come back.
Amen.
Harry Full, come back.
Nobody will be upset with I'm signing off for this evening.
So Baruch Chaim, not that.